American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
But the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
Well, a lot of people agree with what I said, and I'm not talking about lying. I'm not talking about not lying. Nobody really knows why we went into Iraq. The Iraqis did not knock down. It was not Saddam Hussein that knocked down the World Trade Center. Okay, that's just...
There's something else about places like Iraq, Syria, Damascus, and these things do not just border across what we already know about the political upheavals current in those places. We're talking about the invasion of America into Kuwait as a response of the Iraqian invasion, the Iraq and Iran situation, but beyond the bloodbath realities of the Syrian war, the immigration of 15 million people, countless bodies of innocent children poured out in those streets is something I think will be of peculiar importance to examine.
Let's get started.
A thread is a combination of different strands of
filament
and making a long single strand of fiber
intended to produce things like this. Typically, the understanding of a thread as regards thinking is a continuous sequence of thoughts, and so the thread in this is what we see between Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Israel. And what concerns us about these areas are things that move way back 8th century BC. Before we move into the map and details,
there are three basic elements to consider.
The first element of power, basically between the Assyrian Empire, Syrian Empire, Judah, and Israel. The second element,
power
of survival. What empire remains and what gets destroyed. The third,
cost
of human conflict.
And not to overstate this, moving from different states.
We interrupt this programming to bring you some rather disturbing messages.
According to YouTube, we realized that 100% of people who view this channel don't even subscribe, and
that's really bad.
Why subscribe?
Currently have 0 hours, 10 minutes, 0 seconds plus 0 hours, 8 minutes and 0 seconds consumable content that we put out. The aim of our channel in producing things as the videos we've done already is to give people like you a film-like commentary, interactive meta-narratives that solicit the need and exposes uncannily divine realities worth looking into. Simply by subscribing, you encourage us to do more. If you have gone this far in this video, if you have watched to this point, I want to encourage you, please do subscribe to this channel. If you want to tag along and join the story film community, you join the Discord community, links below. For months now, we've been on a specific trajectory, moving from different circumstances, and not to overstate this, are things that move way back 8th century BC. Assyrian Empire, Syrian Empire, Judah, and Israel. Not to sound too apocalyptic, it's safe to assume that the regional rivalries across these places have been a consistent pattern. The dynamics may be different, but the level and the playing field for some of these things are almost the same. The life and the times the Jews of BCA, told by the specific life and times of the prophet Isaiah, is something I think we can go ahead to continue learning from. This is it. 30 kilometers away from the Tigris River, south side of the present-day city of Mosul in Iraq, 19 miles southeast of the city of Mosul, the modern-day village of Namania, the Mecca of one of an ambitious, ruthless ruler. Surrounded with many ideologies that came from his own lineage and mirrored the kind of mindset that was prevalent in his culture and time.
It was Assyria.
Had at this point in time achieved the status of being one of the most feared and largest empires of the ancient Near East. The Assyrian culture is no different from any other culture, but in this context of the story, the significance of what we are about to move into would make everything I'm about to say sensible. So the Assyrian way, if I would put it, is the way of conquest. Now, anyone who's concerned with history will know about the religious ideology of the people of Assyria was shaped by gods. Basically, Ashur and Nebu. They had many other gods, but basically these two gods had an influence on the Assyrian way of thinking. When we move into the political class, the kings and rulers and lawmaking in that region, the attention of the Assyrian is pivoted to the imperial destiny they believe they had to conquer the nations around them.
Nimrod.
This was the capital state of Assyria. And why is this significant? Because this housed one of the kings that both Israel, Syria, and Judah feared the most. And literally, we see the domino effect of the ambition of Tiglath-Pileser rubbing into the political tensions that had faced 8th century BC Syria, the city of Damascus, Israel, and the little town and city of Judah. This took place during the reign of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah. These words were uttered by Isaiah. Now it came to pass that Aram, which is the ancient rendition of present-day Syria, and Ephraim, which was accorded to the 10 tribes, the kingdom of Israel. There's a long story about it, but not to digress. The king of Aram, known as Rezin, and Israel or Ephraim was King Pekah. It came to pass these two kingdoms, kingdom of Aram and Israel, made a form of coalition, and this was primarily because of the fear of Tilgat-Pilesi. He already began moving into other nations and was gradually moving in on Syria and Israel, or as it was called, Ephraim. And so close to these two kingdoms was the kingdom of Judah. So King Rezin, king of Syria, and King Pekah decided to move into Judah, attack Ahaz, dethrone him, and install the son of Tabeel so as to join forces to fight against the huge Assyrian empire. Isaiah opens this in chapter 7 and gives us a brief background of what was going on. For better understanding to know how the Syro-Ephraimite war took place, more insights to this will be found in the recordings of the kings and the chronicles of the Israelites. And this is 2 Kings 16. And it came to pass, according to what Isaiah tells us, the people of Syria had already begun to mix with the Israelites. This was a form of agreement. This made the little kingdom of Judah,
Ephraim.
the hearts of the people were moved as trees. Isaiah communicates this in Hebrew poetry. The Holy One of Israel, for which we have already introduced in the second episode of this series, the God to which the Jews are in covenant with from the days of their patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appears to Isaiah and gives him a word to deliver to Ahaz. Isaiah doesn't go alone. He goes with his son
Jeshub,
and meets Ahaz at a specific location to which the Lord of hosts had instructed him to meet Ahaz. And what would Isaiah tell him? Isaiah would simply tell Ahaz to be relaxed. Why? He likens the anger of King Rezin and Pekah symbolically as that of a smoldering stick or a firebrand. So if you got to this part of the video, congratulations. Thank you for watching till this moment. We are on a series on the book of Isaiah. Check out the first and the second episodes to get a fuller context of the whole thing that is going on. Thank you, study buddies, for being part of this video, and you can join our Discord community. The link is in the description, and thank you so much. He tells Ahaz that this conspiracy would not happen, that the chief of Aram was Damascus and the chief of Damascus was Rezin, and within the span of 65 years Ephraim would be too shattered to be a people. Now if we were to calculate this time period from whence this prophecy was given to Isaiah, 65 years after this, it would be the final deportation of the Israelites to the kingdom of Babylon. And then he also talks about Samaria, and in that particular order that was mentioned in the case of Rezin and Damascus. And then he urges King Ahaz to stand in his faith. That means to rely on the word that had come from the Holy One of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, set to preserve the kingdom of Judah. And to think this was simply over, the Lord had spoken again to Ahaz, telling him to ask for a sign in Sheol, which was known to be beyond the world, or in the heavens above. This was to remind Ahaz the things that was done for their ancestors in the wilderness. The Jews were delivered from the land of Egypt into the promised land by the promises of Yahweh, the God, the Lord of their covenant. And the reason why he gives Ahaz this decision is to remind Ahaz about the covenant he has specifically with the kingdom of Judah, which happens to be the lineage of King David, a king in Israel's history which was renowned among all nations for his conquest and in his time servant of God. Ahaz, on hearing this, does not give a positive response. He goes on to tell Isaiah he wouldn't dare to test the Lord God. And so Isaiah's response to this was a question. O ye house of David, is it enough for you to try the patience of men? Will you also try the patience of my God? And on delivering this question, even before Ahaz could answer, he proceeds and gives an answer. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. See, the virgin will conceive and have a son, and name him Emmanuel. By the time he learns to reject what is bad and choose what is good, he will be eating curds and honey. For before the boy knows to reject what is bad and choose what is good, the land of the two kings you dread will be abandoned. The Lord will bring on you, your father's house, such a time as he has never been since Ephraim separated from Judah. He will bring the king of Assyria. And so this was the sign the Lord had given to King Ahaz, pertaining the conspiracy to which Pekah, the king of Israel, and Rezin, the king of Syria, had planned in their hearts to raid the kingdom of Judah. More signs are given to Ahaz. On the day the Lord will whistle to flies at the farthest streams of the Nile and to bees in the land of Assyria. The flies indicate Egypt and the bees indicate Assyria. Later on we see how this prophecy is fulfilled. All of them will come and settle in the steep ravines, in the clefts of the rock, in all the thorn bushes, and in all the water holes. On that day the Lord will use a razor hired beyond the Euphrates River. And so the symbolic coming of the king of Assyria is regarded to be a razor hired from beyond the Euphrates. He goes on to say this: to shave the hair on your heads, the hair on your legs, and even your beards. On that day a man will raise a young cow and 2 sheep, and from the abundant milk they give, for every survivor in the land will eat curds and honey. So he keeps on giving more and more examples. Another example will be describing vines. At this point he says, a place where thousands of vines are sold for 1,000 worth of silver and gold, a place where thorns and no sign of life whatsoever will be in this area. He ends this chapter finally saying that these areas will be a place where sheep and oxen would graze. In the light of this prophecy given by Isaiah to King Ahaz, we see in 2 Kings 16, Ahaz doesn't listen to Isaiah and moves ahead to take up the treasury that was in the Jewish temple, which was dedicated to the Lord God Yahweh, who was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the King of the Jews and the king of the covenant of David and the house of David, to the Assyrian king as homage. He does this tactically in order to save himself from King Rezin and Pekah. And does this work out? Eventually Tiglath-Pileser raids Syria and Ephraim. Judah is kept for a moment in security, but this action by Ahaz does not yield any consequences until later on, when the Babylonians come to pay homage to the Assyrian army and see the treasury that was given by Ahaz to Tiglath-Pileser, and becomes a lead, which would eventually be the reason why they would later on invade Judah and capture it.